Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author and eclectic reader. And it's Wednesday, and it's a wrap-up Wednesday. So yes, welcome, and yes, I'm still wearing a cable knit sweater in June because Portland. So yeah, every 2 weeks I have Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, a wrap up. And this one got a little out of hand. Yeah. Hi, Eva. Whoops. I almost deleted the comment because of the clicking. Okay. So it's a Wednesday wrap up. If you're curious, I have a bunch of mysteries. And I've got a question of the day because I think it might be an indicator of something. What does it mean when you tear through twice as many books as usual? Because I'm going to go through 12 books today that I read in the last couple weeks. That's like almost one a day. So I think something's going on. We're going to start with the first batch, which is like the mysteries, and then go more in detail through the other books that I read. So let me know what you think on that. Good morning. Albert's here. Hello. I just saw that you had a new video, but I haven't watched it yet. Busy morning. Hello, hello. Sexy lady. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so we're going to dive in. Read the question, respond if you have theories. And we're going to start with the first batch because we have a lot of books to go through. But out of the 12, I'm just going to group these 7 together. So mysteries, 6 mysteries, one women's fiction. Is that what it is? What did I write in my notes? Yes. So we've got, so I put 4 Anne Perrys in the thumbnail, but I forgot I already talked about one of them. So Dark Assassin was the next one in the series, and then Echo of Murder, and then Dark Tide Rising. So one of the things that I learned when going through the same author's books at such a rapid pace is that, oh, this is what they mean by hitting the same beats. And it wasn't a great revelation. Normally I dole out a certain reader's series books a little at a time so that I can get like a hit of that and then not a surf it, and I get tired of it. But I got tired of these. And then it made me rethink, well, there's a lot in these later books that are like towards 2018, 2019 that she's writing that are really about, or it could be construed as events in the author's own life. It's talking about the inner turmoil in our detective and like stuff about not knowing yourself and the criminal mind. And if you know Anne Perry's backstory, then like some people don't read her books because when she was a teenager, she helped kill somebody and was not allowed back to New Zealand. So I always thought, well, I don't know. She writes a good crime novel. So that was a really long time ago. She just died a couple years ago. And, sort of started her life again over in England. And, but some of the stuff I'm reading in these books makes me sort of go, number one, the style is getting obvious and old. And number 2, like it's making me a little uncomfortable in terms of her past and her present occupations. Not anymore, obviously, because she's passed away, but when she was writing. So I was going to make this like one of the few series that I try to be a completionist with because William Monk is a really interesting character. Hester, his wife, is a very interesting character. And usually there's very sort of twisty plots and action and everything. But I think I'm just going to abandon it. So that is the first announcement. And we're going to let that go. So what else have we got? We've got 2 more mysteries. We've got one from Iona Wishaw. This is An Old Cold Grave. And it's a series as well. Instead of England in the Victorian era, though, this is Vancouver, BC after World War II. So it's an ex-spy who's in the Canadian countryside trying to rebuild her life, but she's got lots of old secrets. So does the community. Obviously, there's murders popping up every book. And I've read probably like 5 of these, and this is one I had skipped and I went back to, and it was fine. There weren't any like spoilers in terms of the overarching mystery stuff, or relationships, I should say. But I just got tired of this one as well. So I think I'm done with this series too, especially buying them full price because they're like $20 for a mystery. And yeah, so yeah, interesting, but not, it's too pert. It's too smug. It's too self-satisfied. It's like this tone that you get in 1950s Mayberry, what's that TV series? But like, this is the world, we control everything. It'll come out okay. If you do good, deadly do good, then like you'll get your rewards in the end. And I just feel like that's not complex enough for me at this point. So good historical mystery series, happy ever afters, but lots of sort of soul searching, not lots, a little bit, and well written, but like the tone is just not the mystery I'm looking for. So there's that one. And then the last mystery is one I just found. I helped produce an interview and I got to meet Nita Prose. And the series, I think she just finished the 4th one, starts with The Maid. And this book is about someone who is a little different. So I think we're going to say OCD is her primary difference. But she also might be on the spectrum because she very clearly says, and her grandmother has told her before passing away, that like she doesn't read expressions very well. So she has to learn based on experience, like what things mean and not to take things literally, stuff like that. So to me, that says like on the spectrum in terms of processing differences. So that's our protagonist. She's a maid in a hotel, and there are things that are personal to her that come up that are just kind of like sad, and you want her to do better. But then there's also like the crime that happens, and then I won't spoil any of it. But I was uncomfortable with the listening to her narrate and not knowing what was going on. That was not a fun thing for me. So as you're reading through, she says, this person said this and looked away. And so she describes the physical things, and you can read between the lines, if you're a neurotypical person, perhaps, to see that that's not what they meant. That was sarcasm or something like that. And it just made me feel bad for the character. There's also other things where you're like, I can see the criminal plot happening, and she's throwing herself in further, and you're just like, it didn't feel good. Like it was definitely a, I'm not sure if it qualifies as dramatic irony, because usually that's when something that the narrator doesn't, but it's like they don't know it because they don't understand it. And since she's an adult, it just felt weird to me. Very interesting idea. Very good like caper setup and execution. I love the character of the grandmother and all the things and the sayings that she passes down. So it's a cute series. I definitely say it's a cozy series. It's a feel-good series. And if you don't have my sort of awkwardness with the tone, just read it and find out. Then you'll probably love it, because a lot of people love this series. And like I said, the 4th one just came out, and I think she's done with the series if you want to read all of them at once. So there's that. Albert's a moderator. Woohoo! We've got, yes. Last time you guys were on, I rented you afterwards. I don't have a checklist, but I do try to like go through several things after I close a live stream. So yeah, that's one of them. Eva says, I didn't know that. That makes her far more interesting than her name. Her name. Oh, Anne Perry, I think. Yeah. And if you look it up, I think they gave her the moniker Kiwi Killer. So this is like in the 1950s or 60s when it happened, a long time ago. She did her time. She was banished from the country, and then she started over with a new name. So, and I haven't seen the movie that talks about the crime, because I think that it would be more affecting, and I didn't want to like know more about it, because like who needs to know a crime from decades ago. Anyway, so yeah, yay, abandoning books. Anita says, I never warmed to the William Monk series. Hi, Anita. Yeah, I really like the idea of someone who has amnesia and realizes who they used to be was not that great of a person, but they have to rebuild themselves. I really liked the premise, and all of the historical detail was spot on, and all of the police stuff and the lawyer stuff and the different historical events that they would blend in, like the smog or the factories going up or the Crimean War. Those are all really interesting to learn about, but yeah, just wore on me. Hi, Emma Bennett. Hello, hello. We're booping the like button. Much appreciated. Thumbs up. I think that was for the other mystery books. Eva says, the random book I started is told from the POV of a princess from a storybook. The novel is The Great Good Thing by Roderick Townley. Have you read it? No, I haven't heard of that or the author. Is that one of your new scores from the free book box? Because you told me about that recently. Pretty good. Okay, so last one in this batch, and then I'll take a little break for more, is the women's fiction. So I thought it would be a romance, but it's not really a romance. So I've read one Rebecca Raisin before, and it was really interesting because it was talking about and minor spoiler here, it's talking about internet trolling. And so I hadn't ever seen that addressed in a serious novel before, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And like the emotional sort of processing of that, and what do you do, and how do you have courage to go back to like meeting people, that kind of thing. So this is the same author that I liked, but this is two people who do a bookstore. Sorry, I couldn't decide whether I wanted bookstore or bookshop, and I said bookstore. A swap between someone who lives, I think, in like Connecticut, a tiny little town, and someone who lives in Paris. And their bookstore is on the Seine. And basically, she's just fictionalizing Shakespeare and co. And to me, it's cute. I love a bookstore setting, and I love a Paris setting. But it was just the things that cropped up about doing a bookstore swap that added to the weight on our heroine was too unrealistic for me. Yeah, she doesn't know how to do billing. Yeah, she doesn't know how to manage employees. Yeah, she doesn't know how to get around and gets on the wrong train. Yeah, she doesn't really speak French. Like all these things, like that. Yeah, that's the recipe for a breakdown. Why would you do this? Yes, it's a dream, but like build up to it. Don't leave in a week. So that just seemed way unrealistic for someone who runs that bookstore and owns it and it's in the family to leave and go to Connecticut and enjoy that, but then like call and harass you for having money stolen from you in Paris. So it's just kind of a weird thing. And maybe the last book I was less invested with people who outfit a trailer and want to go on a little retreat and bake cookies and sell them, because I don't know about that world. But this one with bookstores in Paris, I was like, oh, I do know that world, and this is just a little too outlandish for me. But I did like the setting, and I did like the little book mystery and stuff. So again, you may like this. It may be a nice, cozy little read. It does happen in the build up to Christmas. There is a little Christmas party. But I mean, it's June and I'm reading it because it's bookstores and it's Paris. So any time of year. And then the last thing about this is that it's actually two books. There's the book that I read, which is Little Bookshop on the Seine. And then there's another one stuck in here, The Bookshop on the Corner. So I'm not sure why the publisher did that. It's a much smaller book, but it made me think something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. We've got this much book left and it's tying up. And I'm like, what? And then I realized it's another book. And I was like, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. It's annoying. So anyway, so I didn't read the second one after that experience with the first one, but hey. And I'm just here to say, for this first batch of 6 mysteries and 1 women's fiction, they were all okay or better. And I was reading them because I did not think that they were books that I would want to keep and reread. I was correct. And I have a project where I'm getting rid of a lot of books. And so I was like, I want to read and get rid of them, read and get rid of them. And that's not a great attitude to go into a book with. But yeah, so definitely not joy reading for June, as some are doing. And it's like decluttering. But did that influence my reading of it? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe I'm just in a more critical mood. I don't know. Okay, so we're at our first break. I've got like 3 more batches of books to go through for my dozen here. And Eva's got an answer for my question of the day. What does it mean when you tear through twice as many books as usual? She says it's the end of her kid. Fair play. Yes. And The Great Good Thing is a free book. Yay. Fair play to you, but I don't think that's what it means for me. Emma says, I just finished The Women, set during the Vietnam War. Yes, Kristen Hanna. I've heard very different things about that book. What did you think? Bookstore? Wow. I don't know what that's about. 2 minutes ago. That's how I go into any book that someone is waiting for me to read. Just get it over with. Just get it over with. Yeah, I feel like that should logically take away from the reading experience. But then I've had books that I finally get to after like pushing myself. And then when I get into them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was so good. Why didn't I pick it up sooner? So in that case, the pre-existing feeling didn't influence the reading. I was open to it being great. So I feel like even though I was sort of like pushed to go through these and get rid of them, that's probably not the whole reason why I was like, this isn't doing it for me. Nope. Nope. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just finally able to like let go of these because I have a goal. Second book surprise. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. It was like, what? You know, like, yeah. Some people have said, especially in fantasy books, I think when you read and it's a big old fat book and like a lot of his appendices or something, it's exciting because then you're like, oh, I finished. And, there's 40 pages that I didn't have to read. But like, if you're reading and you're using your physical book as a gauge of like how much plot left is there and you're mistaken, it just sort of throws you off because you're like, what are they going to do? What's the extra twist? And then there is no twist. There's just a different book. And you're like, what? So that was a funny one. Oh, Emma says, I quite liked it, but the ending made me cross. I'm guessing that means it's sad. Yeah. It sounded pretty intense, pretty graphic and emotional. I mean, it's a Kristen Hanna book. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed reading most of it. P.S. The Great Good Thing is middle grade. I think I intuited that. Yeah. Yeah. Agree with the pacing of our own reading expectations. Yeah. It's like, you felt someone got one over on you, but it's not intentional, obviously. Just silly. Okay. So that's the first batch, the mysteries and the women's fiction. And the second, we're going to go up in order of like, oh, no, we're not. This isn't order of stars or anything. But the next ones that I read are going to be for her kid. So, ta-da! This is the third book in the 4-book series, Boudica by Amanda Scott. It's fabulous. It's super intense. It's very action heavy. The characters are very finely drawn. All the cultural, imagined rituals and setting are amazing. I'm really loving this. And I have one more book to go for the kid. So that's exciting. That's not going out of the house. And the other one is actually a share. So let me pop that up for you. This one. Got all these tabs open as usual. So this is my other Herkiad read for this period. This was quite a long audiobook. So The Gatekeeper's Staff is the first in the T.J. Young and the Orishas series by Antoine Bendele, who is a big YouTuber, but not for his books, actually. It's for something else like reviewing or being a YouTuber because he got in very early. But he keeps that pretty separate from his writing, and he is a Black fantasy author. And he came on the channel, I think, last year for one of our kickoff events. And I'm glad to say I finally got to read his book. And I will say key is that I read the audiobook on loan from the library, and the narrator was fantastic. So Nakia Renee is what it says here. And I don't think I had seen her in other stuff. I think because she might do younger audience work. She was fantastic. So not only did she differentiate between different Nigerian accents, but also younger versus older men and women, just like different personalities. She really did a good job of like narrating everybody differently so you could identify them. And also like the humor and the laughs and the stage direction, she was just fabulous. So if you can and you're interested in a young adult fantasy that uses Nigerian culture and sort of West African traditions for its magic system, this is really cool. So basically, TJ Young is someone who's going to school on the East Coast, and he's sort of a dud. He has a magical family where his mom's magic and his dad is not. And his brother and sister got their magic school stuff all figured out, but he's in the middle, like, why wouldn't it work? I can feel stuff, but like nothing works. And so he's always thought he was kind of a dud. And then his sister dies before the novel starts. So there's this big sort of secretive stuff about her death. And it's very sad for him because he doesn't have any friends except for her. And it also complicates his like magic abilities. So his parents try to get him into this camp. And basically that's where the story takes place, is this magic camp where he's trying to get better, but also understand what happened to his sister. And the two things merge and set up a big old series. So yeah, I can imagine like lots and lots of discoveries happening, and there are sequels to this. So very exciting. Yeah, 16 hours. And because it was on the desktop and because there were so many accents, like I couldn't speed up the narration. So I think it was like one speed. So I did actually take 16 hours sitting at my laptop where I couldn't do any other work. I actually, what I think I did towards the end was I was washing dishes, folding laundry, doing any of those kind of chores with the headphones on because I could walk around, because otherwise I have to sit here and like listen with staring at nothing. Otherwise I won't comprehend. So anyway, listening to audiobooks on something that is not my phone or not an app is suboptimal for me, but I did it for this one because I was really interested in the book. And while it was a little outside of my normal reading, I thought the narrator did a fantastic job, and Antoine did a fantastic job. And so really, really hats off to both. A really good one. Let's see. So those are my Herkiad reads. I am also partway through Bones to the Wind, which is the pirate fantasy by Tatiana Obi. So that will probably be in the next wrap up after I go to my family reunion. Let's see. Eva says, it's like when I expect another episode in the show I'm binging, but nope, that's it till next season. Yeah, that's hard, especially like cliffhangers. I don't think any of these, the TJ and the Orishas, it's not a cliffhanger, but it's definitely like something has to happen next. So it was satisfying, but set up the series. So that was fair. Totally valid. That's a chunker. Eva says, audiobooks have always been so hard for me, but I may try them again on advice of my husband, who thinks my focus habits have shifted. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I think we go through phases. Like, I don't have anyone to observe me and tell me if I've changed in anything, but I try to check in and be self-aware. No, my focus habits have definitely shifted. I would be a liar if I said no. Yeah. Oh, Leslie's doing her own premiere. Maybe her premiere finished. Multitasking while listening to an audiobook is one of the reasons I love audiobooks. Yeah. Ooh, family reunion. Yep. Setting off next week. So we will be preparing a couple videos in advance. And yeah, that's the plan for when I'm out, so that I don't have to do the work or the lives, because I have no idea what my situation will be like. Eva says, I think her husband is optimistic with the audiobooks, but yeah, age and experience really keep us changing. For sure. Good, well put. Okay. Let's see. research. So the next one is just one book, the next batch. This is a interlibrary loan. This is what mine look like. They put a little band on the front. Politics and the Irish Working Class, 1830 to 1945. And I know y'all are, what's it called? Salivating at the bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Something at the bit. Anyway, yeah, library book, academic, a bunch of different essays that academics put together. And I went through about half of them because those are the ones that were more pertinent because they were earlier in the 19th century. And there was a lot in here that was just about the stuff that I'm putting into my second book. So Orla is the first book in the series. The next one is going to be about Amelia, and it's going to take place in Manchester. And I found lots of cool videos about history in Manchester. So thank you to Ven at Ven's Corner for sending me some of those. And I just sent him one, but he can't watch it. I watched Who Do You Think You Are for Sir Ian McKellen, and he has roots in Lancashire and Liverpool-ish. And they were pointing out different cool spaces in history in Manchester in the period that I'm kind of looking at. So that was really neat. So you may find some of those as Easter eggs in the book. But not very spot on. So it was basically background research. No one that I'm considering putting in the book from here. But it was good to have it. And now I can bring it back because I'm not late on returning my books. I am very proud of that. I got a notice that it was due yesterday or Monday. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm doing my review on Wednesday. And you cannot make me bring it back before. I want to hold it up. So I chatted with the librarian and they made it go away because I was like, why did you change the date? So thank you. Chomping, salivating. I mean, I guess it's the same thing. So envious. Yes. Hi, Gareth. Chomping at the bit. Thank you. Okay, so that was the third batch, is the research reads. And the final two reads are my outstanding reads, right? Nothing else? Yes. Okay. So the last two, one of them is an audiobook. So I will switch to sharing. Didn't I bring it up? Did not. Okay. There we go. So we should be sharing this now. Pop it up to the screen. All right. So this book is called Qualified: How Competency Checking and Race Collide at Work by Sherry Dunn. And I discovered while I was listening to this that Sherry Dunn is actually a Portland writer, which is pretty cool. So why did I pick up this book? And what did I get from it? So I've got some notes I'm going to call out, but the first one is about what made me pick it up. So I go through ARCs in Libro.fm's catalog every month. And this one had a preview where I listened to it because I'm interested in books about race and politics and stuff. But this is about at work, like in the work environment. And if you know me, you know I don't exist in a work environment. I work from home. I don't have colleagues. Like, you guys are my colleagues. So there was a lot of things that don't come up in my daily life. But here's what made me click on this and really get into the subject matter. The sample had an example. We're going to let that pass. Where Sherry Dunn, the author, talked about being in a consulting. So she's a consultant for people looking to get employment or to hire people. And one of the people she was talking to was having a very emotional reaction to this metaphor. And the metaphor is, how do we remove discrimination in the workplace so that everyone has an equal playing field? And this is very on topic because DEI initiatives have been attacked in the past 6 months, right? They've been blackened by name. And so I think most of the people, not most of the people, I think all of the people coming here to my channel would agree that removing discrimination is a great goal. It's an ideal. It's very hard to live up to. There's lots of sleeping biases in ourselves that we have to find and root out. And so this person was in her consulting room, and she was giving a metaphor to this person about evening the playing field. So say you are at a fence and you're trying to watch a rodeo, and everyone on the outside of the fence who wants to watch the rodeo is different heights. So you got one person that is already above the top rail and they could see. So they don't need any stool or box or anything. A second person is like just below the rim, and so they need such and such size box. And the third person's like down the bottom rail, so they need like 3 boxes, right? So that all the people can be up high enough to see the rodeo, which is the goal. And that was her metaphor. And the person she was explaining this to was like working through something and took a really long time to sort of figure out what they were going to say. And they said, it's not fair to give those boxes because you're removing an advantage that the tall person had. And I thought, oh, wow. Okay. This is how we're working through our feelings. This is great. This is great because I could see that the person she was talking to having the emotional reaction was trying to sort through, like, why am I having this reaction? And what does it translate to? And so she was like, yeah, the advantage that has been removed was an accident of nature, like tall jeans versus short jeans. And if Kat comes on here, Kat will tell me, short people rule. But yeah, that's not a goal in our society for accidental advantages to influence our goals to have an equitable society. So I heard that and I was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I want to hear what this lady says. And I was not disappointed because there were lots of different points in her book where she explains things that are happening in the workplace and like tracks down what the root is. And gives examples of efforts that are underway, efforts that have been struck down. And this came out in early 2025 or late 2024. Doesn't say on this page. So right before inauguration. That's what I remember. But she's talking about the Roberts Supreme Court, which is our current Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And how they have chosen to wrap themselves in myths of different racist legacy with revisionism, defining discrimination differently, and explaining structural inequities by reverse engineering them. So she explains these terms and they all made sense to me. So I thought that was a really powerful tool to be able to explain to people why they're going about this wrong. So that was great. It wasn't too legalese for me. She talks about DEI and removing discrimination by expanding opportunities. So sometimes the language in this field of study will get you twisted up because people say it's not fair or like, lots of things. I think you guys know. But yeah, it's not special treatment per se. It's expanding opportunities. How can you argue with expanding opportunities for people? So I liked how she was reframing things and trying to contextualize different people's experiences. That was helpful. And then one more thing that she mentioned that had me thinking is that a lot of times she's talking about both Black people in the workplace and other people of color in the workplace. She divides them up. She also talks about white women's role in the workplace in different points. So I like that she sort of had a different prismatic view, if you will. But she talked about Black leaders, so people who have done really well in their workplace. And so they have influence. For perhaps they're influencers, or perhaps they, wrote something that went viral, or, have some sort of kudos. So they have influence, but then they don't have the appropriate authority, is how she phrases it. And I thought, so if you have influence without appropriate authority, that could be a situation of being asked to do more work without commensurate salary and remuneration. But I think also it's a different point in that authority means you can tell people what to do legitimately, right? So if you're influencing but not being given authority, I think that is this weird gray space. So I thought that was interesting to explore. And I wanted more on that. But then I also thought, what about the other way? What if you have authority, but you don't have influence? And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I liked, she had a lot of really interesting ideas. So Qualified by Sherry Dunn. It introduced me to the phrase competency checking, and now it's in my mind a lot as I see things happen in the real world. So definitely highly recommend. The sample had an example. Oh, let's see. Oh, we're talking about library late fees. Our library had no late fees. We are their favorite sort of borrowers. Well, for most of mine, I check and it just says renewed automatically unless someone is waiting for it. And I have to check to see if that crops up. Otherwise, I have a dozen books from the library that I will have to get out of the house before August. We paid for a book once because I couldn't find it. Oof, found it. Now we own a nonfiction picture book about the state of Michigan. That's fun. They didn't want it back by the time we found it. Yeah. Gareth says the libraries in Portsmouth don't do late fees anymore, which is great. Well, the one that I was talking about is an interlibrary loan. So I think because it's a little bit more expensive for them to ship and, put the things on and process and track and all that, like I would probably get dinged with my borrowing privileges. And I do borrow from interlibrary loan fairly regularly. You're allowed to have 3 out at once, and I have 2, and I just requested a 3rd one, and then I'll be bringing this back. The one I requested, I think the only physical copy that was in the system that I had access to was in the UK. So maybe I'll get a book mailed from a UK library. How cool would that be? But it's another academic research book for my work in progress. Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. For Moses, he knows his toes aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toes to be. That's such a good musical. I love that song. I love that dance routine. Thank you for making me think of it, Gareth. Eva says, I once worked in HR for a big box store many people know and love. During a team meeting one morning, someone made a joke about race, sex at once to a friend that would not have cared, but he lost his job that morning. Ooh. Overheard in the lunchroom. Yeah. Sorry, I'm late. Surprise live popped up. Oh. Well, I hope this wasn't a surprise because I'm here every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. But you probably had a different surprise live that you needed to go to. Eva says, how fun, UK book loan. Yeah. Does anyone know the musical? Gareth does, of course. Let's see. So that is my first outstanding book, and my other outstanding book I have already talked a little bit about. I brought it up many times when I was talking to Victoria. So I'm going to pop in the link for our conversation, because when I look at my views, what's interesting is that the productivity streams get up to 100, and the wraps probably get like 50, and my TRC conversations are down at like 30 views. So I want to spread the word. They're great conversations. We just had Victoria Talks Writing on to talk about Mental Health May, and I think most of you guys were here for that. But I did talk about this book because Naomi Ortiz wrote this book called Sustaining Spirit, Self-Care for Social Justice. And you can see it's a library book, but it's listed as wish list on my Storygraph because I definitely want to get my own copy because I turned down a few corners. So I'll have to put those back up before I bring it back. But just really, really good. Self-Care for Social Justice. Naomi Ortiz is a disability activist, a woman of color in the Southwest of the U.S., an activist for other issues like climate. And she gives a really good view of her own environment and her own routines to cope and thrive despite enormous obstacles. So some of the points that I have down for her, you want to tune in. They were like music to my soul, right? So here's one. I often found it was when my mind wandered, basically when it looked like I was doing nothing. that I could finally connect to my feelings about a situation, reflect on those feelings, and then make a decision. Reflection wasn't efficient. It took spaciousness and patience. So, this is for any of you out there who feel guilty about sitting and doing nothing. And, a lot of us process that way. And I think I was just writing in my journal this morning thinking, like, processing feelings is hard. No one teaches us to do this. And I don't know. So this book was really helpful to me because, as I said in the live down below, or maybe I'll pop it up here too afterwards, Naomi Ortiz has a very fine-honed talent of being able to, like, slow down the thought processes during any interaction, like the Matrix and the One, because you'll be in a situation and you'll have feelings and you'll be like, this sucks. And you'll be like, what just happened? Why did that bug me? And what is actually coming up? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? And it gets very hard to sort through these things in the moment. So she sort of slows everything down and says, how did you think about this? How did you feel about that? What did you do beforehand? What usually happens in this case? That stuff like that. And she's also got reflection questions at the end of her chapters. And some of those I found really useful. Not all of them, but like I'd see one, it would jump out at me and I'd be like, ah. So one of those, let's see, I have some more. So good. Relying on my anger is a place to start to help me understand my needs, but it's not the end of the journey. To value myself, I can't just be in reaction to the person, situation, circumstances. Pause to understand what needs aren't being met, then try to be creative to figure out how I can meet them myself. I also can have grace for myself if I can't do any of this. So modeling self-care, just really good and really clear and not overly psychology languagey. That's my very articulate way of saying jargony. Let's see. Let's say oh, Mojo. Hello. Yes, no worries. Not a musical fan, never seen Grease, but I know the songs. Yeah, Grease is like past 50 top musicals in my rankings. So yeah, it was the one I was singing was from Singing in the Rain, Jane Kelly, in case anyone's wondering, and Debbie Reynolds. So a couple more quotes from Naomi Ortiz, who I highly recommend. 5-star read, small book. You want to come back to it. And just sort of exhibiting what I'm trying to describe. When I am in the moment, experiencing some sort of injustice, I feel overwhelmed by emotion. It takes time for me to understand what my truth is in the situation in order to ask for accountability. Yet figuring out my truth is always secondary because in crisis, stuff just needs to get done. And she's pointing out, like, for someone who's a pragmatic activist, often it's what needs to get done, crisis mode, triage mode. And that's a very risky place to exist in all the time. So, oh, and here's the good enough thing. So in case, as like I noticed I said something that was perfectionist sounding on my last live stream, in case you have those tendencies as well, here's another quote about practicing good enough. Having grace for myself and self-care still leaves me with all or nothing. Being perfect or failing aren't authentic ways to practice self-care. Authentic self-care means living in the messy middle. Yes. And not feeling bad about it. I'm reminded of my inner knowing that I live in multiple worlds at once, that I must unlearn the lesson of absolutes, even though absolutes were crafted into the knife used to mold me. I choose to forgive the good intentions of those who tried to mold me and remember the old way of authentic imperfection. Rewind that, listen to it again if you have to. It's so good. So she's just got these gems dropping, and she's a poet, and you could see it in some of her writing, and I just really enjoyed it. So please find a copy of this where you can. Support the author. It's not a musical. All right, so that is my dozen at a go books. All right, so the final questions are, have you guys got any upcoming events? Because I'm going to share some of mine. So it is the first week of June. So that means first Friday, we will have a productivity stream. I'll probably also be dropping another deliverable for Agitation August. So maybe the calendar if everyone confirms. Next week, while I am off to the family reunion, I will have a tag on Sunday pre-recorded and a standalone book review on Wednesday pre-recorded that I will do today. And yeah, so that's that. And then for anyone curious about this month's TRC, I've got Susan Palumbo, who is a sci-fi thriller writer, and she will be coming on the channel the last Sunday in June. So we'll be talking about both her work as well as Climathon and like the climate issues that get us geared, that grind our gears, let's say. Her novella Countess is one that I've read and really admire the decolonize themes in, and so I'm pretty sure we'll be talking a little bit about that, but just want to get that in your diary, in your calendar. And any other upcoming events that you guys want to share? And can anyone hear the construction going on outside? Because they started at 8 a.m. with a weird sounding drill, and they're still hammering, which I'm glad. We're getting new stairwells because the others were rotted and like falling over. So I don't think I'd want to go that way. But yeah, I'm excited to get rid of all these books now. Let them go. Let other people enjoy them. Oh, we've got a release date. Mojo says book 4 of my Orisha series. Okay, so Mojo may have missed it because I talked about it before she arrived. Antoine Bandele has a series about Orishas, and I just finished his book. So it's the first in a series, and now you've got book 4 in a series. So I think we've got interesting takes. Very cool. So there's the link. Excellent. And let me make sure you are wrenched. Yes, because I can see the link. Duh. All right. Cool. And working on a money mindset for my new pen name to come out in 2 weeks. Oh, so is this a pen name that does nonfiction? I would guess if it's money mindset, because that's like, sounds like business / self-help section. Very cool. 2 weeks, man. Stacked. You're stacking all the books. It's awesome. So I will be traveling for the first time since the inauguration and the FAA madness. So wish me luck on Saturday, because I will be putting my hands in the lives of whatever air traffic controllers are left at the helm in Sacramento. And yeah. So that is my wish for everybody out there. But yeah, I don't hear any other upcoming events. So we've got a new release in the fantasy series from Mojo and a nonfiction with no link. So we'll have to troll through Mojo's website to try and find if there's a link. Yeah, don't go through to work. I know. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for a lot of people. But yeah. All right, so that is our upcoming events section. Thank you for coming by for this Wednesday wrap-up of 12 books. And I am just so happy that so many of these are going to fly out the door. And yeah, because I have a project and we're working towards decluttering. So yeah, it just a little tiny bit at a time. And I'm starting early. So thanks for watching, and remember to diversify your reading shelf. Thanks, everyone. Take care and happy reading. Ciao.